Spring has made its way onto the Southern Homestead. Truthfully, it's been here for a while. I don't know about you, but springtime for us means the honeymoon is over. The garden has come alive, revealing ripe vegetables ready for the harvest. The orchard is also overflowing with all kinds of fruit, what we like to call Mother Nature's candy. The next several months are going to be pretty busy around here with all the harvesting and preserving. Yep, the honeymoon is definitely over. Hello my friends, welcome back to the Southern Homestead and welcome back to my garden. So I just want to give you a little update on the whole chicken debacle that we have been dealing with our raised garden beds. And it seems like we have remedied the situation. We've been out of town for a couple of days. I just got back, checked in on the garden, and I think I may have seen there was some scratching in one of the beds, which could potentially be a chicken, because we have noticed that the younger rooster and a couple of his hens have managed to still hop up and get out of the enclosure. And so, you know, we've been keeping an eye on them and they've pretty much stayed out of the garden bed. However, like I said, I think I've noticed that they've been scratching in one of the beds. But the plants are still surviving and doing really well. And unless I catch them in the act, you know, I don't know who's doing it. So we will continue to update you on that. Meanwhile, I'm here in the garden and I'm going to be, if you can see right here behind me, I'm going to be harvesting most, if not all of my mint. I'm going to freeze dry them and then store them away in glass jars. And we use this, you know, throughout the year, especially in the winter months, for a nice hot cup of tea. And we also can use them medicinally. So I'm going to go ahead and help Michael put some hay around all of our plants, and we're going to start with our sweet potato plants. Funny little story about that. We always start our sweet potato slips ourselves because the local nursery where we normally get them, they're always sold out by the time we get there. So we usually start them in the water method. Mason jar, toothpicks, sweet potato hanging in there. It roots, the potato slips form across the top, and then we harvest those and we plant them in the ground. Well, this year I decided to try two methods. So I did the old reliable sweet potato in the water, and then I also did sweet potatoes in some soil that you keep warm and moist, and they're supposed to grow slips that way. Well, lo and behold, the ones in the soil did nothing. 0 slips, weeks and weeks and weeks of babying these things, and nothing to show for it. So, of course, the ones in water, the tried and true method, they did great. So I harvested all of those sweet potato slips, and that's what we have in the ground here. I put the ones in soil, just took the tray, put them on the back porch, and they were supposed to go into the compost pile. They never made it. And here we are many weeks later, you know, out of sight, out of mind, completely forgot about them, stumbled upon them on the back porch. And there's a sweet potato and it's growing slips. Well, needless to say, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm not planting anything else in the ground. So he'll have to end up in the compost pile, and maybe he'll grow sweet potatoes in the compost pile. I don't know. Just a little funny story there, that all of a sudden now, this sweet potato that's in soil is now growing sweet potato slips.
Making our way how God intended. Life on the homestead recommended. When the going gets tough and you're done pretending. Life on the homestead recommended. There's no more 9 to 5 when you're living between the pines. No more struggling to get by when you're living in God's light. Whoa, that's the homestead life.
So true to Mississippi fashion, it is a balmy, I don't know, 90 degrees, 100% humidity. It's hot. I think one of the biggest things, well, let's say two of the biggest things we battle down here in the South: heavy pest pressure early on because it gets so warm so quick, and heat. It's just so hot and miserable. I mean, you can see the hair's already gone up. I am dripping sweat. It's miserable. Normally we like to get this done early in the morning or late in the evening. But we've been out of town for a few days. We didn't want to put it off. We want to get this done. So we're putting hay around all of our plants out in the row crop. And I think we'll have just enough to get all of the rows done. Now, we may live to regret this decision because in the past we have had issues in our row crops with ants. If you live in the South, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And these are not friendly ants, these are fire ants. Red ants that bite and sting, and it's relentless. And you know, we try not to use any poisons or sprays anywhere near our garden, and that can make it kind of difficult. We're going to do our best to address them as soon as we see the ant beds starting. And I have learned over the years that, you know, kick around the ant mound. They'll get frustrated and leave and set up camp again. Kick around the ant mound and continuously do that. And they'll get so tired of rebuilding in that general area that they should move on far away from the garden. So that's our plan before we resort to any kind of chemicals. It also looks like there's some thunderstorms moving in later this evening. So we want to hurry up and get this done before that puts a halt to everything. You guys, you have got to see these carrots. I am most proud of these carrots. Look at this. Look how beautiful. So let's hope we have a great carrot harvest. That is one of our staple crops. I use it in so many things, stews and soups. My tomato plants, by the way, are looking magnificent. I need to come in and prune some more branches, let a little bit more airflow come in, but as you can see, they are loaded with tomatoes. My sweet little loofah plant, the only one of 6 that survived, and she's doing quite well. She is climbing up the trellis like a champ. In case you're wondering, yes, we do get rained on. It's raining now, but there's no lightning and it's just kind of a steady light shower. So we're gonna continue working. Maybe not. It's starting to rain a little bit harder now, so maybe not, we shall see. And we had hoped to pick blueberries today. That may not happen either. So we may have to continue this tomorrow morning.
We planted Premier blueberries and Tiff Blue. Seems like the Tiff Blues do a lot better here. We have a lot of red clay soil, but they really produce. And last year, we had a banner year in the orchard, everything. The year before, we had nothing. We had a late freeze, and we had 0 blueberries, 0 pears, 0 plums, 0 blackberries. It was a poor year. But we're cranking them out this year.
During peak season, we will usually pick anywhere from 3 to 5 gallons of blueberries per day. Now, this is our first picking this year because they are just now starting to become ripe, but I fully expect production to increase significantly over the next few days. And so this is just, I don't know, 15 minutes maybe I've been out here picking. And when Michael was out here, he had probably just as much in his bowl. So as far as pest pressure with the blueberries, usually it's just the leaf-footed bug. And I don't know, maybe it's a little early, but I'm not seeing a whole lot on the plants this year. But I'm sure they're on their way. even when we've had high amounts of pest pressure, it hasn't really affected production much. So we just don't worry about it. We just go on about our business. Of course, you know, we don't like to spray anything in our orchard. And we still end up with insane amounts of blueberries every year. We have ended up with 3 full gallons of blueberries. Besides harvesting blueberries today, it's time to harvest a lot of my mint, and I'm going to be freeze drying it and putting it away, storing it in mason jars to use throughout the rest of the year for tea. This whole section right here is my apple mint. This is my first year doing apple mint, and I actually started all of these plants from seed, and they've done quite well. So far, my little experiment has worked with keeping my mint from spreading to the rest of my garden bed. How long will it work? I'm not sure. We'll just take it year by year, I guess. This is the apple mint. Well, that's one tray full. Only a few dozen more to go. And in case you're wondering, normally, yes, I would wash my mint leaves, but it's been raining all evening yesterday and then all morning. So they've had a good rinsing off already. So it is yet another day, and I have just pulled out my first batch of herbs from the freeze dryer. So my next batch is already in the freezer, and that's also lemon balm and apple mint. And as soon as the machine goes through the defrost cycle, then I'll be able to load those trays in. And meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the third batch, which is going to be my parsley, my basil, and my oregano. There's just something about fresh herbs and spices. It just makes your home-cooked meals that much better. Thanks for joining us on the Homestead, friends, as we set out to gather our first harvest of the season. We look forward to continuing to share all that goes on our homestead. We'll see you next time.